guys, so today I'm going to be reflecting on an article called Body Ritual Among the Nacirema. And so it's by Horace Minor. So at first, when I originally read this article, I was kind of struck by a culture and rituals of a culture that is in reality mirrors America. And I was just really struck by that. And so like the way that he describes these daily activities like brushing our teeth and going to the dentist makes it seem so foreign and odd. It was a bit unusual and shocking to step outside of my own culture and perceive and view everyday actions in such a detached way. The article really made me think about how we often normalize our own practices and without questioning them. And so by reading about the Nacirema, I had to realize that to an outsider, some of our practices and routines could seem kind of bizarre to, other people. And so I feel like this article just really shows how culture shapes the way we perceive, normality, and how we easily can become blind to the rituals that define us. All right, so now I want to dive into a American culture pattern, almost ritual that might seem very weird and unusual from a outsider's perspective. So I would like to talk about how Americans start a conversation, introduce themselves in a way to a friend. And I want to focus on the phrase, "How are you?" and how we use it. And so usually when someone is asked, in America, "How are you?" we say, "Oh, I'm good, I'm fine," even though we're not necessarily doing good. We're not giving an honest answer. And so for most people, it's more of like a have to exchange. And so even though we're not particularly feeling good, it's this feeling that you have to say, "Oh, I'm good. How are you?" And then that other person says, "I'm good too." And then you go on about their days. But from an outsider's perspective, this could seem completely bizarre, super weird, and it can seem insincere, disrespectful, and just mean because we're never sincere about the question, "How are you?" And so, we constantly pretend that, our well-being is good, but the fact that we ask the question, "How are you?" so often, it shows that there's not a deeper level of wanting to care about others. And so it almost becomes more of a ritual. There's a value placed on your response to that it needs to be that you're okay. And so we've come to this place where it is a ritual that you have to respond and say, "I'm fine, I'm good, everything's good," even though you're not. And it's almost a way to, maintain a very smooth, social interaction with others, and it also really signals the fact that in the face of struggles, you're still a functioning and managing person. Okay, so now I am going to be evaluating these changes. And so from a psychologist, her name is Dr. Brene Brown, she says that when we, make this a more emotional and vulnerable connection, we also open up to each other and show our true emotions, which tends to create a deeper connection with others. And so that shift to a more emotional, genuine expression in the American culture can seemingly make us think that, oh, we're more sincere in our culture. But the drawback of that is that the more that we say it, it seems more like a ritual. It hasn't evolved enough that it's more sincere and goes into depth. It's evolved to the point where we're not genuine about it anymore. And so the pressure to always appear fine, even when we're struggling, contributes to that stigma around, whole mental health and discourage and, all of that. And so it discourages people from seeking the help that they need. And so ultimately, although there is a positive shift there of wanting to be more sincere, doing it so much makes it unsincere and more of a ritual and something that just happens and happens and happens, and it's never meaningful anymore. Okay, so overall, the way that we greet each other and communicate in everyday situations reveals a lot about the American culture and how we act within our society. I will say that some of our communications patterns have evolved, but there is still that drawback where we haven't evolved further enough that things are so meaningful. It's a drawback still, and it becomes unsincere. And so I feel like that reflects, America and our society and how we act with each other. And I also think it's super important to recognize these, rituals, and really question, whether our interactions with people are genuine, and whether they, foster a genuine connection and an authentic connection with others, or if we're just going to continually going along with our social norms. So, thank you so much for listening.